What's up, guys? We are back with Friday college action here on December 20th. We're breaking down 12 games on this slightly smaller slate. We're going to be looking at leans against the spread and on the over-under here as NCAA basketball season starts to heat up, so let's get after it. Also, huge announcement, we've started a second channel called More Stump the Spread, where we'll be posting our breakdown of the NBA games for tonight and possibly some player props. There will be a link down in the description to the secondary channel. There will also be a video that pops up at the end of this one, so you can get over there and check out our leans on the 3 NBA games for the night. If you want to win all of your Friday bets, hit that like button. It's good luck and really helps the video get promoted out there. Obviously, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content, and if you're a really big time supporter, you can sign up for a channel membership to get early access to all of my NFL and college football videos, and you also get your name up on screen in every video just like right now. I really appreciate everyone watching, and big shout out to the channel members. All of our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. We have a team of experienced cappers over there who are putting in the work every single day, covering all the major sports with NFL, college football, NCAA basketball, NBA, UFC, and the NHL all going on right now. It is a great time to sign up for maximum bang for your buck. Just click the link down in the description. That'll take you right over to Stump the Spread. You can also just type Stump the Spread into your search engine of choice, and you can easily view our free picks, new ones posted daily, and you can join our free email list to get updates on results and free picks straight to your inbox. Let me know in the comments any bets you're looking at today, and I will give you my best advice on all of them. I personally respond to every single comment every day, and I'm more than happy to get back to you. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got Valparaiso taking on Western Michigan. Valparaiso comes into this game fresh off of a pretty expected loss, a 95-73 loss there against Ohio State. Not a team they're really supposed to be able to hang with. They have done some decent things this season. They played a close game against Drake, but the solid performances are a little bit few and far between. I mean, they got their season off with to a pretty bad start, a 20-point loss there against Liberty. Over the course of the season, they're not putting up amazing numbers. The offensive numbers don't look terrible, don't get me wrong. The defense is a little bit problematic, so we'll see what we get out of them in this one. I mean, against Ohio State, they did manage to score 73 points, so okay, sure, in a step-up game, the offense continued to function at least. I mean, we saw Al Wright, he scored 22 points in the game. Pretty good stuff there. As a team, they shot only 20% from 3 in that game, so definitely room for improvement. They didn't get blown out on the boards either, really. I mean, they kept it close to even 33-38, so yeah, honestly, despite that loss, guys, I was a little bit impressed with what they were able to do against Ohio State. Obviously, it's going to be a much tougher team than they see, generally speaking, out here in the Missouri Valley, so we'll kind of see how this goes. I mean, obviously not a Missouri Valley opponent in this one, as they're taking on the Western Michigan Broncos, a MAC team coming in here. They haven't had a great time. They've lost 3 in a row, although they did keep things pretty competitive there against Dayton, losing that game 77-69, so, some positive things there. They did get blown out by 20 against Butler. They've had mostly downs. Not a whole lot of ups this season, but quite a few downs. We'll see what they do in this game. Their season-long numbers look mediocre, I would say. The defense is really bad. The rebounding numbers are decent, though. 85th in the nation in total rebounding, so that's okay. But, guys, they got dismantled their last time out. They got blown away by North Dakota State, which obviously looking like a pretty good team, but still, you would have hoped that Western Michigan had kept it a little bit close. They ended up losing this game by 36 points. So, yeah, not a whole lot of positives to find there for Western Michigan. And it's not like this is a team that has, any kind of superstar talent on it. I mean, they've had some tough losses this season, so we'll see what they can do in this one. I mean, I'm not necessarily expecting miracles out there. Oh, also, guys, keep in mind, this is an early game. This is a noon start, so this game is going on in Kalamazoo, Michigan, so this will be a home game there for Western Michigan, at least. Looking at the numbers for this one, we see Western Michigan, they're 1.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 151.5. Valparaiso 4-5 against the spread. They're also 5-4 to the over. Western Michigan, they are 4-1 against the spread. They are 5-3-1 to the over. So, guys, right here off the bat, I kind of think we might want to look at the over in this game. We've seen both offenses function at a pretty high level, and I don't think there's any reason to think either team is even decent defensively. So, my main lean on this game is going to be that over 151.5. If you are really just jonesing for a side on this one, I would maybe lean a bit towards Valparaiso, but I think this is a spot we just want to root for a lot of offense in this game. Next up, guys, we've got an early afternoon game between UIC, the UIC Flames, and Seattle. So we'll see how things shake out here, guys. UIC, they're 6-4 on the season. They're 0-1 already in conference play there in the Missouri Valley. They're fresh off of a 77-69 win over Little Rock. They've actually won their last 2 in a row. The game before that was a 69-68 win there over Dartmouth. They did lose against Northern Iowa, so yeah, that was their Missouri Valley Conference loss. They beat LaSalle, but they got destroyed by ECU. They did play a 9-point game against Northwestern, so that's something positive. and they knocked off Yale there at the very beginning of the season. So this is a team that's found a little bit of success, but they've also had some bad losses, and they really haven't played the toughest schedule. They're putting up good numbers across the board pretty much. A lot of those numbers are bolstered by what they've done in their two non-Division I games, but yeah, averaging 80 points per game. They're up there with the league leaders in terms of rebounding numbers, so that's pretty impressive. And yeah, I mean, what they did against Little Rock, I'm a little bit impressed here. This team is playing well. They're playing hard right now. It did take them overtime to get that win against Little Rock, but Little Rock is not the worst team out there. I mean, we saw UIC win this game despite shooting the ball pretty poorly from three. They did dominate on the boards, which is starting to be a calling card of this team. So we'll see if that can continue. They did, have a 48-34 rebounding edge there against the Little Rock Trojans. So definitely some positives piling up here for UIC. We'll see what they can do in this spot. They're going on the road to take on Seattle U. The Redhawks come into this game 4-7 on the season, fresh off of an 86-73 beatdown. Well, not beatdown, I don't know, but loss there. Definitely, a game that never really seemed like Seattle was going to win there against Western Kentucky. They've had an interesting schedule so far. They played some big step-up games, like they played against Duke. Obviously, they got completely washed in that game, but they've done what they could. They did get blown out by UTEP, so yeah, not necessarily a team that's had a ton of fun this season overall. No major standout stars necessarily. Their rebounding numbers are very troubling. They're tied for 191st in points per game, so that's not exactly great. And they're not an amazing defensive team either. So yeah, maybe these numbers will even out a little bit more, but I'm not really in love with what we're seeing from Seattle U right now. I mean, in that loss against Western Kentucky, and like I said, that's a tough game for sure, but they only shot 24% from three. They ended up, having a slight edge on the boards, but that's not the norm for them. They really couldn't defend the three-point line at all. They gave up a 28-point game there to Don McHenry. Just not a lot of positives right now for Seattle U. So looking at the numbers for this game, I'm a little bit surprised to see them getting they're 5.5-point favorites here at home. We've got a total of 145.5. UIC 4-4 against the spread. They are 5-3 to the over. Seattle U, they are 3-6 against the spread. They are 5-4 to the over. So to be honest, guys, that over 145.5 once again looks very, very reasonable to me. I wouldn't hate you taking that whatsoever. That's probably not a play that's going to end up in the pinned comment, though. One that definitely has a chance here is UIC getting 5.5 points. I think they're way too good of a rebounding team to let this thing get out of hand. I think they're live on the money line in this game, to be honest. If you wanted to, as they say, sprinkle the money line on this one, you definitely could, but I think this is a great spot to look at UIC here getting some points. They've been playing really, really well. I think Missouri Valley Conference teams are generally undervalued, and I think this is a spot UIC could maybe steal a win. Next up, guys, we've got our first 5 p.m. game that we're covering here today. We've got Rider going on the road to take on Pennsylvania. The Rider Broncos are 4-7 this season. They have not been having a great time losing their last 5 in a row. There have been some tough opponents in there. I mean, Villanova, definitely a big step up for this team. But yeah, when you're losing to, Quinnipiac, Fairfield, I mean, that was a 3-point game, but still losing to the Delaware Blue Hens, it's been a little bit rough. They also played against Iowa this season. That was another big loss, and they got blown out by UCLA. So Rider has definitely played a tougher schedule for sure. They've not been shy about scheduling these big name teams, and yeah, it hasn't gone great. We'll see what Rider can do once they get into MAAC play. So far they're 0-2 though, so it hasn't gotten off to the best start. It's been a little bit rough. TJ Weeks leads this team with only 13.1 points per game, and he's only shooting 40% from the field. They are pretty freaking bad there offensively, guys. Ranked around 400th in the nation, averaging only 63.5 points per game. That's not great. The rebounding numbers are a bit suspect. I mean, in their last game, guys, against Stony Brook, a team that's only 3-7, by the way, they lost 72-55. Yeah, it's looking pretty brutal. They allowed the Seawild to shoot 52% from three. We saw Rider shoot only 16.7% from three, and they got crushed on the board. So not a lot of good things cooking right now for Rider as they go on the road to take on the Pennsylvania Quakers. Another team that's really having a rough time. They're only 3-7 on the season. They also have lost to Villanova in a blowout. They've lost their last 3 in a row. They just got dismantled by VCU. I mean, I guess they only lost by 19, so maybe dismantled is a little bit strong, but not a very good game there for the Quakers at all. I don't think they're going to have a great time out there in the Ivy League this season. Yeah, they're 3-7 on the year for a reason, guys. I mean, Ethan Roberts is averaging nearly 17 points per game, so I guess that's a positive, but somebody's got to score the points against VCU. Obviously, maybe not a great comp here to Rider. Obviously, VCU, a very, very good team, but we saw Pennsylvania, yeah, guys, they shot 18.5% from three. They got crushed on the boards, absolutely crushed. Just not loving what we're seeing from Penn right now. So really, guys, we've got a matchup between two pretty bad teams. We see Penn as a 2.5-point favorite here playing at home. We've got a total here of only 132.5. There you go. That's a big symptom of these two teams not being very good. Rider 4-7 against the spread this season. They are 9-2 to the under. Penn 2-8 against the spread. They are 5-4-1 to the under. So first up, guys, I'm going to lean slightly towards Pennsylvania here playing at home, -2.5. I'm not super interested in that. I do think there's some value on taking the under since neither one of these teams can really score the ball. I don't know how thrilled I am about this spot, to be honest. I don't think it's going to end up in the pinned comment, but it's a shorter slate, and I do think there might be just a little bit of value here, especially based on those trends of offense being at a major premium in this game. I could see this game ending with both teams scoring right around 60 points. Moving right along here, guys, we are looking at the Delaware Blue Hens. They're going on the road to take on the St. Peter's Peacocks. Delaware comes into this game actually not having the worst season. They're 7-4 overall. They've won their last 2 in a row, but those were both non-Division I opponents, so let's not get too excited about that. The game before that, they did lose Duquesne 80-66, so that wasn't great. They did knock off Yale in a thriller earlier this season. They've beaten Iona this year. They've done some positive things, although a schedule with, a couple non-Division I games, right there back to back, maybe doesn't fill me with tons of optimism. This team, I don't know, guys. I mean, John Camden, 15 points per game. Sure, that looks great. They're now top 100 in the nation in offensive, production, but coming off a game where you scored 92 points against a non-Division I opponent, that doesn't really impress me too much. They're not an amazing rebounding team. The defense is pretty lacking as well. So we'll see what Delaware can do this season out there in the CAA. I mean, they haven't played a conference game yet this season, so we'll see what happens in this one. But yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant to, think the Blue Hens are going to be doing anything that special here. They're going on the road to take on the St. Peter's Peacocks, who haven't had an amazing season. They're only 4-5 overall. They lost against Seton Hall. They lost against Rutgers. They did win against Duquesne by 3 points, so that's a nice, comp game there. But their last 2 have both been losses. They lost against Manhattan in a very close one and at Iona in a very close game. So we'll see. Obviously, St. Peter's is a very battle-tested team. Marcus Randolph, pretty good numbers from him, 16.2 points per game as a squad. Not the worst rebounding team. Their defensive numbers are also very good. Obviously, we're not going to see great offensive numbers from a team that's played, quite a few step-up games, but I do think there's some reason for optimism for this group. I mean, in their loss against Iona, their last time out, a 63-72 loss, and I mean, Iona, not the toughest opponent. The Gales aren't having an amazing season either, but we did see Marcus Randolph score 29 points in that game. St. Peter's shot only 22% from three-point range. Definitely a number they could improve, and they struggled there on the boards, but are they going to have those problems here against Delaware? It seems like the odds makers don't think so. St. Peter's actually 2.5-point favorites here. We've got a total of 141.5. Delaware 6-3 against the spread. They're 7-2 to the over. St. Peter's 5-3 against the spread. They are 5-3 to the over. So right off the bat, guys, I think over 141.5 is very live in this game. Seems like a reasonable spot to me. Neither one of these teams are amazing on defense, but guys, I like St. Peter's here playing at home -2.5. They played a much tougher schedule. I don't love that loss they just had against Iona. Don't get me wrong. So this isn't a play that will for sure end up in the pinned comment, but I do like a lot better what I'm seeing from St. Peter's. They've been playing real competition lately. That has not been the case for the Delaware Blue Hens. So go ahead and give me St. Peter's here to get the win and cover. Next on the docket, guys, we are looking at the Akron Zips going on the road in this one to take on the Yale Bulldogs. Akron comes into this game 6-3 on the season, fresh off of a tough 100-81 loss there against Milwaukee. Crazy game in that one, giving up 100 points right after scoring 100 points. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster here for the Zips. They got their season off to a very interesting start there with a super close loss against a good Arkansas State team. They couldn't really stay attached against St. Mary's in a bit of a step up, but then they reeled off 5 straight wins. Pretty good stuff in that one. Maybe not beating the toughest teams, obviously, but a win over Omaha in there doesn't look terrible. Just their last game, a little bit rough, and now they're about to play back-to-back games against Ivy League opponents, so that'll be maybe a little bit of a test here, but we'll see how that goes. It's going to be interesting. I mean, this Akron team has put together some very impressive offensive numbers, 85.2 points per game. That has them in the top 25 nationally. They're also an elite rebounding team. The pace of play the Zips like to play at, is very impressive and lends itself to lots of production, and that definitely has been the case. I mean, they're 7th in the nation, averaging nearly 20 assists per game, so a lot of positive stuff here on the offensive side of the ball for Akron. Obviously, the defense, not so hot, so we'll see what they can do here, not big, really standout stars on this roster either. They're like going to score a lot of points, but everybody's going to score some points, which honestly I think is really a positive when you're looking at betting on a team. So we'll see what they can do here, taking on the Yale Bulldogs, who are now 5-5 on the season, fresh off a 65-50 win there over Vermont. So yeah, we're not going to throw you a parade for a win over Vermont, but they lost to Delaware, they lost to URI, they played a very close game against Minnesota in something of a step up, and also kept things very competitive against Purdue. So maybe we'll be looking at the Yale Bulldogs doing some positive things there in the Ivy League, but I'm not going to lie, guys, the last 2 or 3 games have been a little bit problematic for me. So we'll see what version here we get of Yale. I mean, we do, see John Polakaitis, 21 points per game. Very, very good stuff there, shooting almost 50% from the field in the win over Vermont. Obviously, guys, this is just Vermont, so let's not get too excited. But we did see Yale have 3 starters scoring double figures. They shot 40% from three-point range, and they had a very significant edge there on the board. So we'll see what they can do here playing at home against a very up-tempo Akron team. Yale's getting 3.5-point favorites here. We've got a total of 155.5. Akron 3-4 against the spread. Yale 6-3 against the spread. But I really care about this one is the trends towards the over, guys. Both of these teams are massive, massive over teams. Akron 7-0 this season to the over. Yale 7-2 to the over. We're playing that trend, guys. This one's going straight into the pinned comment. I love over 155.5 in this game. I think we see these teams put up plenty of offense. I know that's kind of a bigger number, but I don't think we're going to have any trouble getting over this. Akron loves to play up-tempo. Yale will run with them, and they will shoot the 3. Both teams will try to shoot the 3. I think we see plenty of offense to get us over that 155.5 in this game. Next up, we're looking at Holy Cross, guys. They're going on the road to take on Sienna. The Crusaders come into this game 6-5 on the season. They got their year off to a kind of a rocky start, getting blown out by Wisconsin, and obviously a big step-up game. They also failed to keep things competitive at all against UVA, but they've, they won their last game. They beat Quinnipiac 70-69, so obviously a nail-biter there. They did beat Harvard by 1 point, so this is a team that can definitely play some close games if the competition level is correct for them, but it hasn't been any sort of walk in the park. I mean, they're being led by Max Green, who's, averaging 13.5 points per game. Their offensive numbers, kind of bad, guys. They're ranked around 350th in the nation. The rebounding numbers are also terrible. Some of this has to do with pace of play, guys, but a good amount of this has to do with this team just not being very good. So I'm not really expecting miracles from Holy Cross out there in the Patriot, in their win against Quinnipiac. Very, very, interesting stuff. We saw Holy Cross shoot the absolute lights out in this game. They shot almost 50% from three-point range, 14 of 29 there from deep. Very few free throws for them in this game. They ended up getting out-rebounded significantly, but they were just making every shot they threw up there, and that was enough to get them the win. So we'll see if they can keep that hot shooting going here as they head on the road to take on the Sienna Saints. They're fresh off of a tough loss against SBU, but the game before that, they beat Canisius. They beat Bucknell. They haven't had a ton of, amazing step-up opponents. They lost against Xavier. They lost against Miami of Ohio, but this hasn't really been a team that's had a ton of crazy tests. They got their season off with, to 3 straight wins. It was pretty cool, beating Brown, Bryant, and American. So we'll see if any of that translates here. This is also not a very high-scoring team, guys, averaging only 66 points per game. Their rebounding numbers are also not great, and, the assist numbers right there along with them. This isn't a team that plays at a high pace, so some of, those numbers being so terrible is due to their, very, very slow pace of play. But I don't know, guys. I'm just not super high on this team. I mean, in their loss against St. Bonaventure, a very good team, albeit, they only managed 48 points. Like, they could not stop the Bonnies at all. Yeah, we didn't see Sienna shoot the ball particularly well from 3. They did keep things even on the boards, so I suppose that's something. They turned the ball over 16 times, though, so that's not great. So, yeah, just a little bit worried about this one. Looking at the numbers, we see Sienna, they're 5.5-point favorites here playing at home. We've got a total of 130.5. Holy Cross 5-5 against the spread. They are 5-4-1 to the under. Sienna 7-4 against the spread. So a very good against the spread team. They are 6-5 to the under. So both teams showing trends towards the under, but such a small total. I'm probably not interested in that. I'm going to lean slightly here towards Sienna -5.5, and it makes me nervous because I do think that'll be a pretty low scoring game, which should give the points more value. I just think Holy Cross is so bad. I'm going to side with Sienna here playing at home, but not a game that's going in the pinned comment for me. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the Longwood Lancers. They're going on the road to take on North Carolina Central. Longwood comes into this game 10-3 on the season. They have played 3 non-Division I opponents, though, so yeah, that record's looking a little bit inflated. inflated. They did get a nice win their last time out over Campbell, knocking off the Camels 77-55. They got a nice upset, an 89-81 upset there against UAB, but we've seen what UAB has looked like this season, and that loses a little bit of its shine. I'm not sure what we can really expect from Longwood out there in the Big South this season, although I'm starting to feel a little bit more optimistic about them. I think they could be a tough out for any team in conference play, but this is not really going to be conference play. We haven't seen any individual standouts so far, but this team can score the ball, guys, averaging almost 80 points per game. The rebounding numbers aren't terrible, and neither are the defensive numbers. So we'll see what they can do in this one. It is a little bit of a look-ahead spot. They do have SMU on deck after this game, so got to keep that in mind a little bit as they go on the road to take on the North Carolina Central Eagles. The Eagles, guys, they got off to a really rocky start. They're only 6-8 on the season. They have been playing a little bit better recently. I mean, they did just play against Longwood. Pretty interesting to see these two teams playing each other, in such short, time frame here. We saw NC Central get the 77-70 win over Longwood in that one. So yeah, a pretty good game there from NC Central. Obviously, they shot the ball extremely well from three, but only, on very few attempts, 6 of 14 there from long range. They shot 19 free throws. Longwood shot 23 and neither team shot the ball particularly well from the charity stripe. We saw Longwood get dominated there on the boards, which was not a great look necessarily. So yeah, we'll see what happens in this one, guys. I mean, as a team, NC Central has done some positive stuff this year. They have a nice score in Pobogan King. He's a monster. They're nearly 100th in the nation, nearly in the top 100 there in points per game. The rebounding numbers are a little suspect though, so we'll see what they can do in this one. Obviously, having that success there at Longwood, and now they're getting to play this game at home, certainly makes this feel like a good spot. We see North Carolina Central getting 2.5 points. We've got a total of 145.5. Longwood only 4-6 against the spread. They're a 500 over/under team. North Carolina Central, they are 6-4-2 against the spread. They're actually 8-4 to the over. So you got to actually talk me into taking a little bit of a look there at the over 145.5. I mean, we saw 147 total points scored in their first game, so I wouldn't hate the overplay in this spot, but I definitely think we want to be on North Carolina Central in the points. I can't find any reason to really be shying away from them being the better team once again in this matchup. They did shoot the ball really well their last time, but I think they're capable of doing that again, especially shooting on their home rims. Next up, guys, we've got Appalachian State. They're going on the road in this game to take on North Texas. The Appalachian State Mountaineers are 6-5 on the season. They've played some step-up games, not having a great time there against Wisconsin. They did beat Colgate, which isn't too much of, a big deal, but they lost against Louisiana their last time out. And yeah, they've, had a couple, maybe just one non-Division I win mixed in there, but this has been a little bit of a rough go, losing their last 2 in a row, and 3 out of their last 4 here down the stretch. They're already 0-1 there in Sunbelt play. So yeah, that conference schedule not getting off to the smoothest start. In that 68-62 loss against the Raging Cajuns, a team that's only 3-9, by the way, so that doesn't make it look any better. Appalachian State shot only 4 of 18 from three-point range. They didn't do a good job on the boards, getting out-rebounded by a team they probably shouldn't be letting that happen against. We saw 3 starters scoring double figures, but their leading scorer only had 15 points. Like, this team doesn't really seem to have too much incredible individual talent. I mean, CJ Huntley averaging 14 points per game, shooting 50% from the field. Not going to really get me going. They're not a very good offensive team, ranked around 300th in the NCAA. The rebounding numbers look good, but I mean, they didn't look good in their last one. So yeah, a little bit worried about them going on the road in this game to take on the North Texas Mean Green, a team that's 7-3 on the season, really has a penchant for playing some lockdown defense. They played a very close game against Utah State. They played a very close game against McNeese. They actually beat Minnesota. They beat Evansville. Like, they've had a couple non-Division I wins mixed in there too, and they did lose there against HPU, but their last time out, guys, a nice win against Mississippi Valley State. They absolutely demolished a weak opponent in that one, winning 83-42. Yeah, that's a 41-point win, guys. Pretty crazy stuff. North Texas was shooting the ball really well. In addition to playing their great defense, we saw 2 double-digit scores come off the bench. As a team, they shot 8 of 19 from three-point range. That'll definitely work. And they crushed on the boards 29-17. So a dominant performance there by North Texas, obviously against a weak opponent. We love what we're seeing from this team on defense, guys. Absolutely dominant stuff. They're giving up 56.8 points per game. Just, yeah, they're an incredible team. They're only scoring like 70 per game, so not an offensive powerhouse, but they can crash the boards, and they play at their own pace, and they play crazy defense. So looking at the numbers for this game, it makes sense to see North Texas as big favorites. They're 11.5-point favorites. We've got a total here of only 123.5. Appalachian State, 3-6 against the spread, 5-4 to the under. North Texas, 5-3 against the spread. They are 4-3-1 to the under. Guys, I don't love how many points this is, but I think we definitely want to be on the North Texas mean green. And this one, I think they find a way to get a comfortable winning cover against an Appalachian State team that really isn't very good offensively. And when they're going up against such a powerhouse meat grinder of a defense, I think they're going to have an even tougher time. So give me North Texas here to win this game by at least 12. This has a very good chance to end up in the pinned comment. Getting into some power conference play, finally, guys, we got the St. John's Red Storm going on the road to take on the Providence Friars out there in the Big East. St. John's comes into this game 9-2 on the season, absolutely cruising along so far. I mean, they're already, doing very, very, they're 1-0 in Big East play. They just took out DePaul 89-61 their last time out, a blowout. They beat Bryant, they beat Kansas State, they beat Harvard, a nice little 4-game winning streak there. They did lose against Georgia by 3 points. That was a tough one. They beat UVA in a blowout. They got a tough 1-point loss against the number 13 Baylor, but they also knocked off New Mexico. This is a very good Red Storm team. They're doing a lot of good stuff. RJ Lewis Jr. putting up 17 points per game. Very impressive. They're one of the top offensive teams in the nation. Their scoring and rebounding numbers are both off the charts. They play good defense. They do a good job of moving the ball. I have a ton of positive things here to say about St. John's, guys. I mean, they're very, very, very respectable team. We saw, Richmond scored 18 points there. Witcher 16, 3 double-digit scores, starting, and then RJ Lewis Jr. coming off the bench and putting up 19 points. St. John scored 89 points despite shooting only 3 of 10 from three-point range. They only shot 50% from the free throw line, and they still just generated tons of offense. They dominated the boards there against DePaul. A very, very good look there for St. John. So we'll see what they can do going on the road to take on Providence, who comes into this one 7-5 on the season, fresh off of a tough loss there against SBU. Yeah, a 74-70 loss in that spot against St. Bonaventure probably doesn't feel amazing, but the Bonnies are really good this year. They're 10-1 on the season, so they're doing some good stuff. Providence in that game, guys, they shot 30% from three-point range, 31% from three-point range, still not enough to get the win. They did a decent job on the boards, but still lost that, had a 7-point deficit there in the rebounding department. 3 starters scored in double figures, but nobody really having a crazy night there off the bench. So a little bit worried about Providence, guys. I mean, yeah, their season-long numbers aren't looking amazing in terms of offense, averaging only 70 points per game. The rebounding numbers are respectable. Got to give them some credit there. And they're willing to shoot the 3, but are they going to knock down the 3 like that again? I don't know. It seems like a big ask. This is a pretty tough St. John's team, and the other tough teams they played against, they lost to Oklahoma, albeit in a close game. They lost to Indiana in a blowout. They did beat BYU, but I'm not going to freak out about that. So we'll see what Providence can do here. They are playing at home. They're getting 6 points, which feels like kind of a lot. We've got a total of 143.5. St. John's, though, guys, they are 8-3 against the spread this season. They're 6-5 to the over. Providence 5-7 against the spread, and they are 7-4-1 to the under. Do we think Providence is going to be able to inflict their pace of play here on St. John's? Seems unlikely to me. I think St. John's is going to get out there and run. They're going to do what they want to do. They got to win this game by 7 for us to cash. I think they can do it for sure. Give me the Red Storm here playing on the road. They've been such a good team against the spread. They've been good against even better opponents, and I think we see the Friars in for something of a down shooting night. Also, when you look at the opponent that they both faced, against DePaul, we saw Providence win by 7. Against DePaul, we saw St. John's win by 28. So go ahead and give me St. John's here. I think it's a very good spot. It's definitely going in the pinned comment. Next up, we've got the marquee game of the night by a long shot, guys. We got number 19 Cincinnati taking on number 22 Dayton. The Bearcats come into this game 8-1 on the season. Their only loss was against Villanova. They've bounced back from that loss, winning against Howard in a blowout, and then in a very close 68-65 game there against Xavier. So things are getting a little bit sketchy there for the Bearcats. They haven't played the toughest schedule. They're still ranked in the top 25, but barely managing to edge out Xavier, and honestly losing to Villanova. Maybe not the best looks right now. I mean, a good win for sure. You knock off Villanova and they're a team that's now 8-3. You did some good things for sure. They shot only 25% from the three-point line and under 40% from the field. So yeah, looking like the offensive skill level isn't really amazing there for Cincinnati. They did have 4 starters scoring double figures. That's nice. They did a decent job on the boards, but only managed to keep things basically even. They also allowed Xavier to shoot 31% from three-point range. It was kind of a rock fight of a game, to be honest, guys. Both teams shot 37.9% from the field in general. So it was a little bit of a tough look. Cincinnati, it has a little bit of a penchant to play games like this. I mean, they're a very good defensive team. That offensive skill level just seems a little bit lacking to me. we'll see what they can do out there. I mean, over the course of the season, they feel not untested, but just not that tested, if you get what I mean. So we'll see what they can do. It'll be interesting to see what they can do here, in Big 12 play when that eventually gets going. But right now, guys, they're taking on the Dayton Flyers, who are now number 22 in the nation. They're 10-2 on the season. They've got a nice win over UConn. They've got a very nice win there over Marquette. Their last time out played a super close game against UNLV. Feels like it might have been a bit of a look ahead spot there for Dayton, with Cincinnati here on deck. We did see Dayton lose against both UNC and Iowa State, but both of those games were extremely close. Honestly, guys, Dayton looks like, I'm not going to say they look like a powerhouse, but they've been doing a lot of good things this season. I mean, in that win over UNLV, one they definitely had to gut out. Like, that was a tough letdown spot after a big win against Marquette. You've got another big opponent looming there, coming up fast. They didn't do a good job on defense on the three-point line at least, but they managed to, make things happen there on offense. They shot 47.1% from the field in general. They shot only 5 of 21 from 3 and still managed to come away with a 1-point win. Crazy stuff down the stretch in this game, guys. I mean, they played terrible there in the first half, only scoring 27 points, but yeah, managed to reel it back in, and it was a tough one. It was a tough one, but they figured out a way to make it work, and Dayton's kind of been able to do that in a lot of spots this season. So we'll see if this is a big get-up spot for them going up against Cincinnati. I mean, they don't have anybody important on deck here, so we don't have to worry so much about a letdown spot, and their season-long numbers look good. So looking at the numbers of this game, Dayton, 3.5-point favorites here playing at home. We got a total of 139.5. Obviously, these are both Ohio teams, so a big rivalry spot here. So we'll see what happens, guys. I mean, Dayton, 3.5-point favorites, a total of 139.5. Cincinnati, 4-5 against the spread. They're 7-2 to the under. Dayton, 8-3 against the spread. They're also 8-3 to the over, which is kind of interesting to see from this team. But guys, I'm going to be leaning towards Dayton here, -3.5. I think they survived a scare. I think Cincinnati's a little bit overvalued right now, just kind of based on their record, and they haven't been tested nearly the way that Dayton's been tested. Go ahead and give me the Dayton Flyers here. I expect them to get a comfortable win and cover. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we've got Jackson State going on the road to take on UTEP. The Jackson State Tigers are 0-10 on the season, still looking for their first win of the year. They have played an absolute murderer's row of opponents. I mean, they lost against Houston, Xavier, Vanderbilt, Western Kentucky, SLU, Arkansas State, and their last time out, they got blown out by Iowa State. So we'll see what they can do here. They're a very battle-tested team. They only put up 58 points there against Iowa State, so that's not great. They're 411th in the nation in points per game. Like, just not a very good team when you look at the numbers. But that being said, they haven't had a whole lot of chances to actually play against, similar level of talent. So we'll see what they can do in this spot going on the road to take on UTEP. The Miners come into this game 7-3 on the season, fresh off a win over Tarleton State. The Miners have done some good things this season. Obviously, playing a very close game there against Louisville is a little bit impressive. San Jose State losing that game probably doesn't look great, but we'll see what they can do here. I mean, Otis Frazier III leads the way for them, 13.5 points and 3 assists. Not going to alert the press about that one. They're a very weak rebounding team, and not that much of that has to do with pace here. So I'm not super high here on the Jackson State Tigers, and I'm also not super high on UTEP. The Miners, though, 15-point favorites playing at home. We've got a total of 140.5. Jackson State, they are 4-6 against the spread. They are 6-4 to the under. UTEP, 5-3 against the spread. They are 4-3-1 to the over. Guys, I'm going to be leaning here just a little bit towards Jackson State and the points. This isn't a game that's going to make it into the pinned comment. I do think there's a chance UTEP could just come out and get a blowout here, but I do think Jackson State's going to be pretty excited to be playing somebody that's, kind of close to their own level of talent. Last but not least, guys, we've got the Southern Jaguars. They're going on the road in this one to take on Loyola Marymount. The Jaguars, 5-5 on the season, fresh off of a 74-61 loss against number 17 Ole Miss. Yeah, I mean, they kind of kept the game competitive. We'll give them some credit. They have beaten Tulsa. That was a nice win. They beat LT. Like, I'm not going to freak out about that. They kept it kind of close against Iowa. I don't know. I'm not even really going to give them credit there. I mean, like, it hasn't been easy sailing for this SWAC team, and I don't know they're going to have the best time. Their leading scorers averaging 11 points per game. Their season-long numbers offensively look pretty good, but a lot of that is coming from playing 3 games against non-Division I opponents, 2 of which they scored over 120 points. So not super high here at all on Southern as they go on the road to take on Loyola Marymount, a 6-4 team. We'll see what they can do in the West Coast Conference. They've played only 1 game against a non-Division I team. They've won their last 3 in a row, including a very respectable win there over Nevada. They didn't keep things close against Colorado State, but they did play a 3-point game there against Wyoming. So yeah, the Loyola Marymount Lions doing some positive things. Will Johnson leading the way there with 15 points and 3.5 assists. Their season-long numbers don't necessarily jump off the page, but they don't play at the most amazing pace, and they do play some good defense, so gotta give them credit there. In their win, their last time out, guys, against Santa Barbara, a 60-58, very close, very hard-fought win. So, battle-tested. They managed to win this game despite their opponent shooting the lights out. They did a good job on the boards. I think this is a pretty decent team. So, look at the numbers. We see that they are 7.5-point favorites here against Southern. We've got a total of 137. Both teams showing trends towards the under, which is interesting. Southern 4-3 to the under. Loyola Marymount 7-2 to the under. So, maybe look at under in this game. I also think you might want to look at Loyola Marymount to get the win and cover. I don't think Southern's going to keep this game close, despite the fact they're 5-2 against the spread. So give me a small lean here towards the under and towards Loyola Marymount. All the games we have for today, guys, make sure to click the video that's about to pop up right over here to head over to more Stump the Spread, and you'll be able to see our leans on this small NBA slate here for Friday. Hit the like button if you're enjoying these videos. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. Click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com. We have all kinds of premium plays posted over there and free picks as well. We'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.